Hello, everyone. Many of you have the weekend off, but not so for the lawyers, the judge, and the jury in the trial of Scott Owens, the man accused of driving drunk in 2009 and crashing head-on into a car full of teens, was also in court today where testimony continued. Could the case be decided by a set of tire marks on the road? News 13's Crystal Gutierrez has been covering the trial since it began. She is live at the Santa Fe District Courthouse with more. Crystal?
And Tim, the defense is trying to use a skid mark to prove that Owens never left his lane. According to them, the teens crossed into his lane that night. Now, to prove that Owens' SUV left that mark, they called a tow truck driver to the stand today.
Where's the Jeep? Right. Okay. And where's the Subaru? Right here.
The defense is trying to nail down the argument that Scott Owens was in his lane the night he collided with a car full of teens, killing 4 of them. The sole survivor, Avery Kaufman, was the driver. Both sides agree that these skid marks came from Kaufman's car. The defense claims Owens left his own skid marks in his own lane, but the state claims the so-called skid marks were made after the tow truck driver showed up at the scene to clean up the wreckage. Today, the tow truck driver testified, challenging the state's argument.
That tire mark right there that Mr. Caldwell has called the Jeep tire mark, would that mark have been left by when you buy a tire from either one of those vehicles when you loaded up the vehicles?
No.
Ramos Valencia said Owens' tires were never dragged, so the marks on the road were not made during the crash cleanup. But the state questioned how much he could have noticed at 4 o'clock in the morning.
That night, you don't recall seeing any skid marks from tires, do you?
No.
None whatsoever?
No.
You didn't see any on the Eldorado side?
No.
And you didn't see any on the Santa Fe side?
No.
There was another reason the tow truck driver was called to testify. The defense claims a minor collision between the teen's car and a third car driven by one of the teen's friends pushed the teen driver into Owens' lane. They say evidence of that was left on the road.
How far out from the accident site did those fragments extend?
About 60 feet.
About 60.
And also called to the stand today a witness who claims the teens were speeding just before the crash. He said he saw them. Another expert claims Owens was driving in his lane at the time of the crash, and he says he can prove it. More on what he said coming up on KRQE News 13 at 10. Back to you.
Thank you, Crystal. Testimony has wrapped up in the Owens trial. Owens was not called to testify on his own behalf, by the way. Closing arguments are scheduled to begin Monday morning. Police